Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Holt from Exodus and formerly from Slayer, and you're listening to The Razor's Edge.
All from Evile, welcome back to The Razor's Edge.
Thank you for having me again.
And I want to look back at a bit of your past as well as the new albums, and you've been delivering thrash metal goodness since your formation as a band. So can you take us back to those early days and share some memorable moments that helped shape you to be the band you are today?
So we started in 1999 as a covers band playing, surprise, surprise, Metallica songs. And it was just me, Matt, Ben, and Mike just having a laugh.
Yeah.
And we did that for a few years. It was really fun. It was great. But, you know, it got to a point where it was like, it felt like cheating, basically, doing covers. Yeah. So we just tried our own stuff and it went well. A lot of cool gigs. We had a lot of fun. Then we got signed by Eric Records. I think they were very drunk at Bloodstock Festival. And it just went from there because we never really had a goal. We didn't want to get signed and get big at first. We were just doing it for fun. And then when we got signed, it was like, well, I guess we'll give this a shot. So the rest is, I hate saying that, the rest is history, but yeah, it is.
Well, yeah, it is. And you've been going a long time now. 99, so that's 24 years.
Yeah.
So you've as a band now, you've released 6 full-length albums. How do you feel that the Evile sound has evolved over those years and over those albums?
I think it's evolved in a sense in terms of structures and approach, but I think the sound is still rooted in what it's always been rooted in, and that's just kind of the old thrash, old metal kind of sound. It's basically what I grew up loving. Yeah. Like the music I grew up with still influences me now to, like, it's still in me, like my style, my playing and everything. So I wouldn't say, it sounds bad, but I wouldn't say it's evolved. I think we've just experimented and had fun with it. You know, we're not out to try and be the next Tool or anything. We're having fun with our kind of style of music.
Yeah. And the latest album, The Unknown, I think showcases a heavy approach, but I think it still harks back to those influences. I was listening to it again today, and I think a song like The Mask We Wear has a darker Metallica influence, but almost like the Sad But Trues and maybe Into the Loads, those darker songs off those. You can hear that influence on tracks like that. But overall, The Unknown is a bit of a departure from that traditional Evile sound. What made you go in a different direction?
I think to me it's the same sound. It's just I've changed the tempo when writing. You know, when you have slower tempos, you can't do the thrashy digga 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 stuff. But I think it was a few things. We looked at our back catalogue and we looked at all the tempos we usually do, and it's pretty much always the same tempos. It's either really fast or mid-paced, but nothing beyond that. So we just thought, you know, let's change it up a bit and explore these speeds that we've never done before, because we love playing the slower, heavier stuff. Like when you play a festival and we play like We're About to Die or Head of the Demon, you see everyone suddenly getting into it, and we just love that bounciness. But also we never want to repeat ourselves. So Hell Unleashed being so fast and aggressive and extreme, we just wanted to do the polar opposite. So it just made perfect sense for us to just go that way, and we enjoyed it. And yeah, it's gone exactly as we wanted.
Yeah, and it sounds great. And usually I'll interview yourselves or other bands before the album's released, but obviously it's been out a few weeks now. So what's the fans' reception to this been like? How have you felt it's been received?
I think it's mostly positive. The majority is great, but you know, there's always going to be people who don't like your stuff. You just can't.
Yeah.
there's no point trying to please everyone, you know. We write our music for us. That's the priority. If we're all four of us are happy and we like playing it, that's the most important thing. If other people like it as well, it's great. But you know, I respect anyone's opinion if they like it or they don't like it. But if someone's criteria for an album is if it's thrash or not, I don't care. Like, that is not a criteria for an album.
Yeah.
So to me, if people like it, it's great. If people don't, it's fine. You know, they reserve the right to not like it. So I'm happy.
Excellent. And the album explores some in-depth lyrical topics this time, from depression to living with dementia, things like that. How did you manage to translate personal experiences into the lyrics that you're now putting on this album?
When I sat down to do the lyrics, I tried like naturally to do the typical thing we've done before, like mythology or demons and all that kind of thing. And it was a bit embarrassing, like just putting that kind of thing over these slower songs. It just did not gel well at all. So the only other thing I knew was myself and my experiences. So I kind of went through a list of topics I think would be suitable for certain songs. And I think because if this was 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been comfortable enough to do it. But I'm just at that age now where I don't give as much of a shit about doing it because I'm comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
And it just suited the songs really well. As soon as I tried some of the ideas, I was like, it has to be this. It can't. Yeah. I can't like shy away and go demons and war. It made sense, and everyone else in the band agreed. They were just like, it's got to be this kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's the second album with you on vocals rather than Matt, obviously. How involved were you vocally whilst Matt was still in the band compared to obviously now that Matt's left?
I mean, Matt had the advantage of 20 plus years of, he went through the start where he blew his voice, he had trouble and everything like that, the things that I've been through as well. Matt got so good at vocals that he, you know, it's Matt, you know, everyone's going to be like, oh, bring Matt back. We're never going to escape that. But I think I have some similarities to Matt's voice, I think just because we're related. And but I prefer a more harsher edge. Like the Hell Unleashed thing, it had to be that kind of death metal-y, like growl. And this one, I guess this was more in the vein of what Matt would do, the more melodic approach. And that's all that came out. You know, I've learned how to control my voice a bit more, and that's what came out. I wasn't trying to do anything particular. It's just that's what happened.
Yeah, and I was going to say that there's definitely a progression, for want of a better word, in your voice. It's definitely it was more raw a vocal sound, I think, on the last album to this one. And when I spoke to you last, you mentioned you were having vocal lessons and things like that to get into that role. Is that something you're still doing?
Yeah, to an extent. I'm not as much anymore because I've got more of a fundamental understanding of what I need to do. But I also have the battle of I have acid reflux really bad, and that can completely destroy your vocal folds if you wanting to sing. So I've got to battle that. But yeah, every now and then I'll still ask Melissa for some advice and a few other people that help me out. So yeah, it's a work in progress. I'm still not there, so it's a constant lesson.
Yeah, learning with every new song you write, I guess, or record.
Yeah, or every rehearsal I'll blow my voice and think, yeah, don't do that next time.
It's also the second album with Adam on guitar with yourselves. How's he gelled with the band, and how much of a creative force is he in the Evile writing process now? Well,
Evile's always been democratic, so people can put riffs in or say it's good, say it's bad. It's just mostly always fallen to me to do the structural recording and writing. But this time around, Adam was here for the start of the album because he joined when Hell Unleashed was finished, so he couldn't really do anything or write anything. The track Monolith is Adam's song. He sent the main riff over and said, "What do you think of this?" So I worked on it a bit and said, "What do you think of this as a song?" And it just really worked out well.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's really good. He's 22, and I think he's older than us in some ways. Very like relaxed and chilled. He just likes a cup of tea, and you know, it's really easy to get on with. And that was the most important thing. We didn't want to get someone who we don't know and it's difficult to get along with because we just don't have time for that. So it was a really good fit for Adam.
Excellent. And the Evile live performance, you've always got a reputation for that energetic show that you've always put on. With the new album's release and obviously the difference in tempo that we've been talking about, how do you envisage the new material going over live?
We've done a few shows and put a few new songs in. It went really well, but we already know how to do this. We have slower songs. I think people forget that we've done 2 ballads before. We've done, you know, Cult is slower, Head of the Demon, What You Become. We've got really slow stuff, but we've never really explored it much. So we know how to do the peaks and valleys of set lists. So we know how to build up to a fast song, then drop it down. And we know exactly where to put them in the set list. So it's going to be really fun. But I wouldn't say energetic anymore because like my back's going.
It comes to us all with age, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So as a guitarist, obviously you have the significant role in shaping Evile's sound, as we've talked about. Are there any particular influences that you draw on yourself that's impacted your playing style?
Yeah, but being fully honest, I wouldn't say I've worked on my guitar work for quite a while. I got to a point where I'm comfortable and I've learned everything I want to learn and I'm happy. So on top of everything else, I don't have much time to play anymore. So I grew up with Jeff Waters, Annihilator, Alex Skolnick, Testament, obviously Metallica, Sepultura guitars. So it's pretty much that still. I still get the same feeling I do when I was 16 when I listen to that and get inspired to do things. And I definitely just say those guitarists. Yeah.
And obviously you shared the stage with some of those guitarists, and I remember seeing you with Destruction back in probably 2008, was it, where Damnation, when you came on stage with them. So what's it like sharing the stage with those bands that you've looked up to throughout the journey? And
it's very weird. Like the Destruction thing was special because it was for Mike. That we shared the stage with Megadeth at one point. I can't remember where, but we got up and sang Peace Sells. It's just bizarre. It's almost like it hasn't happened because I don't fully remember it, and when you're there, it's like, no, this isn't happening. But I remember when I filled in for Mike at one festival with Destruction, and I was fine. Like, I don't really get nervous. And when I was stood behind the cabs, like the intro to Curse the Gods came on over the PA, and I went like, oh shit. Oh, I'm actually doing it. So I did get nervous then, but it went really well. Yeah.
And just talking about the Unknown and the artwork that you've had produced for the Unknown, it is very visually captivating. So what was the story behind that, and how did you get the artist to tie it into the concepts that you've got on this album?
So we've worked with Elran Kantor before on the Skull album, but I wanted to work with him again because I personally wasn't 100% happy with that art, and I said I'd love to do something. I met him at his exhibition in Liverpool, at the Dark Earth, and I just told him I've got an idea for a song or an album, and it's about the fear of becoming a parent for the first time. And he's the same age as me. He's got kids as well, and he said something like, "You don't need to tell me anymore. I've got an idea." Like, okay, fair enough. So got home and emailed him, and I said the only thing I'd ask is it be visually striking, not typically metal, out of the realms of typical stuff, and maybe a bit of blue in there because we don't have much blue in our covers. And he sent that over, like the draft of what you see basically, and it was just perfect. I as soon as I saw it, it was almost like I already knew that was what it was going to be, because as soon as I saw it, it was just perfect, exactly what I wanted. So hats off to Eliran. He's amazing.
Yeah, and he's literally 99% of album covers these days is his film.
Yeah, literally.
So you said he sent the draft over. How different to the finished article is that draft?
It wasn't different at all. It was pretty much the same thing. So the draft he did was the building blocks of what the finished thing was. So he just further worked on it, and there was like one or two other little sketches that he said, like, how about this? But that one just stood out instantly, and I just said, that please, and that was it.
And the music industry as a whole has evolved quite a lot since you as Evile launched, really. So how do you navigate the current landscape compared to how it was back in 99, 2000 when you were starting out?
It's really difficult now, and not to even mention how expensive it is now, especially for touring or getting anywhere. But I kind of miss the MySpace days where you had your own little website and you could put your songs on there, and it was just so simple. But it's difficult because as much as I love streaming and the ease of streaming, it doesn't pay artists enough. I know that everyone knows this and everyone says this, but nothing's ever done about it. But it doesn't pay enough. People don't buy music anymore, or CDs or vinyl, except collectors, But it's just hard. Like me, I'm always honest about being an Evile, and I work full time, and I have 2 kids, and I do a lot of music stuff in between. But for us to tour, for me personally, it's a case of, can I get the time off work or not? Just like everyone else, if they want time off. And any employer is going to say no if you say, can I get 2 months off?
Yeah.
They can be like, yeah, you can take it and I won't pay you for 2 months, but then the tour won't make as much as the job would. So it's a constant balance. In fact, the last song on the album, Balance of Time, is literally about that. It's about how impossible it is to make it all work. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of fans are still quite surprised when you come out, you or anyone else come out and say, actually, I've got a full-time job alongside this. And so what's the financial reality for a band today touring? How successful would you have to be in order to give up that day job?
Well, you'd need to make the same amount per month, and the industry, unless you are touring constantly and playing a decent sized venue all the time and festivals with decent fees, it's nigh on impossible unless you're above that level where your band is at a level where everyone knows who you are, you sell loads of tickets. We've just always had that problem of never getting over that threshold. We've always like struggled below that line, and the 5 to 8 years of silence really did not help. Like when I left and there was no new music, I think that kind of didn't kill us, but it hurt the progress, definitely. So it's just, it is what it is. And is the, I guess the income is different, but the income when you started, streaming wasn't a thing really. And we were all buying CD. It wasn't even vinyl, hadn't even come back then. It was all CDs, wasn't it, at that point? Yeah.
Is the income any significantly less now because you're not selling that physical and it is all streaming, even for a band of Evile size?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think even the sales numbers, not even of Evile, just most bands, the sales numbers are declining. I mean, vinyl sales are going up, but people are just streaming. That's how it is now.
But it's convenient, isn't it? When you're driving along in the car, I'll put Spotify.
I know it sounds hypocritical. I use Spotify. I pay my subscription, but I'm in the situation where the band is now a hobby and I work.
Yeah.
So it's how it is.
And do you think it's different. Well, it is different from a fan's perspective, because when I was growing up and when you were growing up, you'd spend your money on a CD or two, and you would have that on constant rotation until you could afford a new CD or something like that. Whereas now you can play an album, put it aside, and you're on to the next one. It's not costing you any extra other than your subscription. So
Yeah.
As Evile, as you're writing, as you're producing, do you look at it any differently to try and capture that audience for more than just maybe a play or two through an album on Spotify?
No, people's opinions of our situation does not affect what we do, because it wouldn't be genuine then, because we wouldn't enjoy it. So I can only consciously write and release a song or an album knowing that I've put my all into it, and not thought, maybe if we do this a bit, more people might listen and we'll make a bit more money. Because then you go down the road of, not to name any names, but some bands that have completely changed their style and just, so we wouldn't do that.
So is it, you mentioned you've got a young family, you've got a full-time job, you're in the band as well. You've also occasionally do your Twitch stream as well, I think, still. So how do you juggle all of that time?
I don't know. I don't, I guess. I've got home today. I've got a few videos to make. I've got a guest appearance on someone's project to do. I've not even thought about starting writing new Evile stuff, but I've got a Twitch stream tomorrow, hopefully. Yeah. The kids are back tomorrow, and I just take it day by day, basically. That's all I do.
Fair enough. So my final question for you tonight, you've had a long career, it's 24 years now, ups and downs along the way. If you could go back and change anything as part of the career of Evile, would you change anything?
No, I don't think so, because it wouldn't be what it has been. I'd obviously change a few obvious things. Like, I obviously wish Mike was still here. But other than that, it's gone exactly how it should have gone. It's just the circumstances of the industry would be better. If we could go back and somehow make streaming more profitable and make it make sense for artists, that would be the only thing I'd like to change, but that's completely not my decision. Plus I can't time travel.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with future episodes by subscribing to our channels. For more information on this podcast, or for all the latest music news, reviews, interviews and more, head over to our website, www.therazorsedge.rocks.